Chris Trussler is clearing out the home he once lived in. He grew up in a violent household with a horrifically abusive father.
You walk into the kitchen to feed the cats and bang, there's a carving knife and you're like, I felt that against the skin of my throat.
It's left him with a volcanic anger problem which threatens to derail his life.
It's like a blackout sort of thing, almost like tunnel vision.
His father died 2 weeks ago, and now Chris is desperate to shed the legacy of his dad's anger.
Would you walk into a disabled person's house and say, I'm looking for the spastic?
He's at a turning point. Can an anger management course help him control his rage?
Some of what I'll be teaching you, of course, will be kind of quite new and quite radical and might even freak you out. Stop, Red.
And help exorcise the demons of his father that haunt his life.
How much do you want to beat it, do you think?
Massive. Well, I'm more than willing to give my entire life to beat it. And if that's what it takes, that's what I'll give.
On a winter's afternoon in the suburbs of Worthing, two brothers returned to a house they once knew. Chris and his younger brother, Richard, grew up in a violent household. They had an abusive father and lived a life in and out of care.
So this was where you and your mum and dad and...
This is where we used to live, in this room. My dad used to live in his little couch there. But it's bad memories from... It's a bit...
Yeah, it's a bit hectic.
It's a bit weird standing in there, isn't it, like this?
Isn't it? It's like thingy. That were on the coffee table, on shelf thing under there, and it's like how many people have that on a coffee table, so... Shit like that just spins you out, really. You're like, fucking hell, what sort of person does that?
What was your father like?
Nightmare, really, for me, like all in all. But if you went and knocked on the door, you'd think that he was the blokes you could possibly ever meet, because it were all sort of dressed up and rosy and have a nice cup of tea and a chat to the outside world. But like sober, he was not too bad. But sort of when I were younger, it were like he were younger, so he were out and doing his bit, and he'd be off out sort of drinking most nights. Come back from pub and it'd be like all hell would break loose, and it'd be fights and fists and knives and God knows what else. So it's like bedlam sort of followed me, really, if you like. I doing homework sort of just in front of the door there, and sort of come in the door, sort of gone bang and sort of hit me sort of thing. I sort of scurrying around trying to grab bits, and then when he went whack and kicked me, the back of my head hit that corner there, so that's quite a distance.
I remember him standing up with Chris, yeah, because Chris was getting a bit taller and that, like, my dad's like a tall bloke, he's like a big old man. So he said to Chris, oh, stand up, we'll see how far off you are from me. So I've gone face to face, and my dad's just gone bang, headbutted him, like, straight in Bridget nose, like, broke all his nose and that. And it's just so, like, he's just standing there laughing, like my dad. It's just like, he's just headbutted someone that he's never met before, you know what I mean? He's just like, look what I've done to your nose, sort of thing, right excited about it. And you're like, what the fuck? How can you do that to your own son, man? Chris did get it worse than me, I know he did, because he used to sort of stick up for me. He used to notice my dad coming up the stairs and that, hearing him pissed and stuff, and he used to go out room before he'd come in room. I just used to hear her whacking and crying and stuff like that.
Did he protect you, do you think?
Yeah,
Chris?
yeah. Oh, he has done all his life, so he's probably been more of a father figure than my dad has.
Was this the room he died in as well?
Yeah. That's a bit right there, that's what I mean, so it's a bit... Well, pretty much where Richard is, because that's where sofa were going along there, and that's where
you can see
where he died,
carpet.
on that sofa that's there. So it's a bit. Do you know what I mean? It's mad enough sort of thinking about what went on sort of in and around it, but then when you think, fucking hell, he's actually died there, that's like another thing altogether, sort of thing.
One consequence of a violent childhood is that both lads have been left with an anger problem, especially Chris.
Once you sort of get going,